precision, sharp, no room for losing. My mind's locked, focused on the board and the strategy I set. Every piece placed with a purpose, haven't lost one yet. Where's White Phoenix? Yo, I see him. Master moves that keep it gleaming, elevating every moment. Markets rising, he's the reason. It's that trader's mental drama. Hours spent, no time for karma. Move the charts, I set my pace. Trading pieces, it's no race. End of the day, that P&L feels like a climb I can't dispel. But every loss turns to a lesson. Every risk rings like a bell. White Phoenix flying through the haze. Every market's just a maze. Charting moves that break the ceiling. Every candle's got me reeling. Flashing lines, trends align. Profits move with every sign. This the grind, day by day. Patience guiding every play. Screens glow, future show. Steady hands, that's all I know. 5 a.m. the world asleep, but my charts don't miss a beat. White Phoenix rising, cutting through. With his wisdom I compete. Options stacking, futures clashing. Every move's a calculated passion. Through the highs and through the lows, only the bold survive the flows. Market shift like seasons change. Every step must rearrange. The game is vast, but the plan is clear. No fear, just steer. Yeah, I'm locked in. Watch me pivot, never static. Reading charts like magic, calculating, never frantic. I'm the architect, my moves designed with precision. Keisanされたステップ、優柔不断の用事なし。それぞれのキャンドルが語りかけます。それが語る物語を私は聞きます。パターンが浮かび上がり、縄文を解く。White Phoenix steady rising through the storm, moving calm with the market's form. Gotta trust the method, no time for doubt. Every move counts, let the profit shout. Shifting strategies, adjust the pace. Eagle-eyed, I see through every face. Late nights, early flights, trading lines like lifelines. Analyzing data, staying sharp, never blind. Risk on the rise, but the rise blind. Like a hedge of patience, I hold the weight. Market shift, I'm still on the grind. Every play's a line, success design. No luck, just skill in the mix. Every tick, every flick, quick with the fix. I don't chase the hype, I create the wave. Put position right, watch how I behave. チャートのアゴ深くにあり、近くに気を散らすものはありません。盤上の音、私の DIC は明白。Moves like a phantom, silent and cold. Every second counts, the strategy's gold. Every second counts, the strategy's gold. White Phoenix rise and keep the focus tight. Navigating through the dark, I bring the light. Trades come like whispers, I hear them call. Calculated risk, I'm ready for it all. No room for panic, I keep it serene. Every loss is a lesson, a step to the dream. Climbing higher, eyes locked on the prize. Chasing the vision, I rise, I rise. The game's ever changing, but my moves stay true. Patience is the weapon, profits break through. One play, one risk, one calculated choice. I'm tuned to the market, it's my inner voice, no hesitation. No hesitation.
Hey, yeah. They call me White Phoenix, rising fast. Flipping coins, I make them last. No casino, this the real. Turning screens into my cash. Holy White Phoenix, alright. とフェニックスと呼びます。早く優勝します。コイン投げて長持ちさせます。カジノなんてない。これが本物だ。スクリーンを元気に変えます。They call me White Phoenix, rising fast, flipping coins, I make them last. No casino, this the real, turning screens into my cash. Cara Lara with the braille, turning screens into my cash. Cara Lara with the braille, turning screens into my cash. My cash, my cash, my cash, my cash, my cash. Yeah, yeah. They call me White Phoenix, rising fast, flipping coins, I make them last. No casino, this the real, turning screens into my cash. 彼らは私を放ったフェニックスと呼びます。早く上昇します。コインを投げて長持ちさせます。カジノなんてない、これが本物だ。スクリーンを元気に変えます。スクリーンを元気に変えます。 They call me White Phoenix, rising fast, flipping coins, I make them last. No casino, this the real, turning screens into my cash. 彼らは私をホワイトフェニックスと呼びます。早く上昇します。コインを投げて長持ちさせます。価値のなんてない。彼らは縁でない。これが本物だ。スクリーンを現金に変えます。早く上昇します。ネタ持ちさせます。カジノなんてない。これが本物だ。スクリーンを現金に変えます。They call me White Phoenix, rising fast, flipping coins, I make them last. No casino, this the real, turning screens into my cash. Got it lower with the real, turning screens into my cash. Got it lower with the real, turning screens into my cash.
Oh, I'm not muted. I was like, why is my voice not going through? Big long gal, sign me up. Yeah, it's been a big long kind of day. Not big schlong, big long kind of day. We don't want no big schlong gals. Man, this pop-up on TradingView is driving me crazy today. I don't know what the deal is with that. So I guess this is where we left off, so I suppose we'll talk about this one first. I mean, I did take a Bitcoin short that we were talking about earlier. Geez, wasn't there a short last night? Am I forgetting something here? I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking there was one, and I'm just not thinking of it at the moment. But I could be totally mistaken right now. I don't know. Just had a little bit of a brain fart, the old classic brain fart. But anywho, last night, no, it was a long. It wasn't a short. It was a long right here. Yeah, okay. So this idea played out right after the stream ended, actually. We came into my zone number one. The initial target was up here. I didn't hold it for the entire initial target, and I got in a little late. I'm not gonna lie, because I was on a call with somebody and I was helping them with a few things that they've been asking me for help for quite a while. One of my friends, he's getting into trading, so got on that call, and boy, oh boy, did I even showed him. I was like, look at this alert. We're gonna watch this together, and the dang alert didn't go off. Didn't go off right away, so it was kind of frustrating. But eventually I did get in. It was a lot later. I don't want to talk about how late I was up last night, but I did get into a trade. It was over here. But anywho, yeah, that's sometimes that's what happens, you know? Sometimes that's what happens. I was pretty dopey for New York Open today because I only had like 4 hours of sleep. But when I did take a trade on New York, when I did take a New York trade, it wasn't on the open because it was too wishy-washy this morning. I didn't like it. So if you're following me in my channel, which you should be, by the way, because I'm going to be posting a lot more in here, I basically narrated everything that I was doing today in here, even while I was on my phone. I didn't post any charts because I was on my phone, and I was taking my kid to his primary orientation. He's starting school, so it was a big deal for him. He's special needs, so it's a big deal. And genius, though. The kid's the smartest kid I've ever seen. Yeah, he's gonna be a heck of a trader someday, but I still want to get him in school, you know. Anywho, yeah, this was a great trade, and actually, you had confirmation right on the spot. I was so bummed last night when I seen that happen after the fact, and the alert tagged like way up here. I was like, no way. It happens though. That's why you should always double up on your alerts in important areas like that. But yeah, I'm happy for anybody that got that. Everybody should have got that. If you were watching my stream last night, there's no excuse as to why you couldn't have taken that trade. I mean, it was a quick accumulation, 1, 2, 3. Price came into that zone. Anywhere from here into here was fair game for a long between that entry point and that. Even if you preset that, you were winning. Come on. Even a preset trade, if you had nailed it right to this target, you made 5.79%. Again, no excuse to not win that one. Number 2 is no longer valid for me, so I'm going to wipe that now because we didn't come down that far. I figured it was either going to be 1 or 2 and not both. And obviously, because this range is now no longer the range of interest, I'm going to wipe all that. We don't need that anymore. That's okay. We can wipe it. I'm going to wipe a few things, actually. I'm going to wipe it all, actually. Not going to wipe it all. I'm going to wipe some of it, though. So, as you can see, we already have a few things labeled. And one of those things up here on ETH is the high time frame, lower high. Okay, and I'm going to talk about ETH very quickly, and then I'm going to go right over to Bitcoin, for those wondering. And then I'll go back and forth kind of thing. But this high time frame, lower high is obviously quite important. But right above that high time frame, lower high, and when I say lower high, I'm talking about the major structure on the higher time frame that goes down like that on literally the higher time frame. It may not be 4 hour, it may be 6 or 8 or 12. It doesn't matter. Time frames they're not relevant in this situation. Okay, you gotta don't obsess over time frames like that. It's the high time frame structure. So we're basically talking about this level right here, and price came up to about here so far. Very, very close, and now it's ranging right here. And that's what we're dealing with on ETH right now. And directly above that, you have this gray box, which is an area of supply. This is what we see. The first time we didn't hit it. We didn't hit it on that lower high. So could it be that we deviate up and then smash down? Who knows? That's what we're watching for. That's what I'm watching for. You can watch with me, or you can counter trade me. That's up to you. I wouldn't suggest doing so, though. You might end up with long fever. You don't want to get long fever. You know, you don't want to end up with your shorts down by your ankles either. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Let's trade pro trend and not against it. When I say trend, I'm talking about myself, I guess, as a trend. You don't want to trade against me here. So we had a distribution model 1, 2, and 3, okay? And now that distribution essentially sucked. It was terrible, and it had no oomph behind it. This is the oomph effect. Price tried to break down, but it did a lazy, terrible job of doing so. It's basically just an SFP. I mean, really, it's an SFP on a higher time frame, clearly, because you went down with 1 candle, then you came back up with 4 candles. Well, that's an SFP. Probably like a 5 or 10 or 15 SFP. Doesn't matter. So we deviated to low. Price came back up. It grabbed liquidity right here, and then we basically just started ranging again. We came back down for a back test of the lows, reaccumulated right here, and now we're bouncing up because we just had an accumulation model. This is a Model 2A, which means a Model 2 accumulation. I don't know why I started doing the whole 1-A or 2-A thing, but I'm kind of digging it. I'm kind of digging it. Makes me feel like ICT with his acronyms. No, I'm kidding. Totally not kidding. So that being said, obviously, we look at this whole thing as a range now with the projected target of this high and probably this high. And then probably the lower high is going to get tested as well. And then once that gets tested, well, Bob may be your uncle. You know, we might just go right through that thing. We could also deviate it. Who knows? We're watching for both. So let's be a little smart here. We'll put 1 alert right here. I'm actually going to put 2 because of what happened last night. I'm going to double up on that bad boy. And then I'm going to put 1 right up here. Probably around here. And then what I'll do is I'm going to put 1 right here in case we get a long on the way up. I didn't take a long. I didn't even look at the chart in the last 2 hours. So, not ETH anyway. I haven't looked at ETH in at least 2 hours. But if we come back down, I may snag a long. I'll let you know because we'll be taking it on the stream if I do. That's about all I need for ETH. That's it. That's all we need. Okay, over to Bitcoin. Over to Bitty. Okay, what do we got going on here? So you have the New York Open that happened. I didn't take a trade on BTC last night. Okay, I didn't take a trade on BTC last night. I'm sure you could have translated my ETH idea over, no problem. Just like with Solana, they all pretty much did the same thing. Everybody was looking to short today. Right? A lot of people were looking at shorting all this, and you know, it's not a bad call. I wouldn't call it a bad call because this was the red box that I was talking about for the last 2 days. It was supply. It's just that the way price came into it wasn't very convincing for me this morning. I didn't like how we hit it before the open, for starters. This is the pre-NY Open. We hit it before the open actually happened. The way we came down and the way we just zipped below the VWAP there for only a couple of candles and then immediately shot back up and then had that wick down, that's a sign of strength, guys. That's a sign of strength. The fact that we couldn't close below that VWAP again right here and demand is holding its ground. You got demand here and demand here, holding its ground, that's not a good sign for a short. That's never a good sign for a short. Many people look at this, and I'll go back with the replay to make a point. Many people would look at this structure and they'd say, oh, I don't care what anything else is doing. I don't care what dominance is doing. I don't care what Uncle Bob's doing. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You got to use your logic at times. Logic overrules everything else, right? So if you see this and it's breaking down aggressively, nice and aggressively, and you back test up and also show a sign of rejection on that back test, or you have structure coming back up and breaking down yet again while losing the VWAP, well, then you got a short, right? But you wouldn't want to really take it. I'm always skeptical of the pre-NY Open trades anyway, because a lot of it gets reversed. In my opinion, a lot of it flip-flops around, so that was kind of a big deal for me as well. So as you can see, the way it came down like that. Yes, it did break structure. It broke structure right here. It did temporarily break structure. However, did it break across all time frames? Probably not. No, it didn't. So 10 and 15-minute structure would have been here, here, and then here. So it made a higher low for a higher high. Okay, right into what? Right into an order block. Right into the only order block down there, for God's sakes. It was the only thing down there to hold. If anything, it would have been a long trade, not a short. Right? If you had a confirmation that you liked on that back test, which it does give you one, by the way. Like, obviously, the way that it back tests in, right about here somewhere. Yeah, right there. The way that's holding its ground, you could have longed the reclaim of that easily, because that's a false break. But if you didn't like it, if you didn't trust it, you could also wait for, obviously, higher up until this high breaks, of course, and then you could try getting involved. But there's many different ways you could have taken a trade there. The VWAP reclaim as a whole is sufficient enough on that move. So, and of course, people don't like longing when price is that high up in a range, which is also fine. I don't mind doing it. See, I didn't take this one. Okay, I didn't take this one simply because we didn't mitigate much of supply, and I wasn't taking the gamble on that one in case it was a Model 1. It could have been a Model 1 like that. So if I long it here and cover here in my stop, it may only take me up to here with no chance to de-risk, and then all of a sudden that happens, and I lose my 1%. So I didn't want to get involved with that possibility, which is a real possibility at the time. So let me just close that out. So I didn't take the trade. I watched it, though. I was watching all this progress. I watched every bit of this progress this morning, and the way it was being wish-washy here, I didn't like that at all. And then people were saying, oh, there's a Model 1. I remember seeing that in a few different chats. Like, oh, there's your Model 1 effect. Okay, if that was a Model 1, why is it trying to hold the VWAP still? Right, I'm watching it. I'm like, this thing should have broken down very, very aggressively. I don't know what this lower low, lower high, lower low nonsense is right here. It should be very aggressive because it was aggressive the first time. Why is it not being even more aggressive on the spring? It should be even more aggressive on the spring here. So clearly it gets invalidated right about here. And I was commentating, commentating, is that a thing? I don't know. Somebody whip out the old Oxford Dictionary and we'll check. Fact check me. Dictionary check me. I was commenting in my channel about this, and I was like, yeah, no. This is why we need to have patience, young Padawans, because this kind of crap happens all the time, especially on the open, right on the open or right before the open and during Asia. This is like, they're pretty similar. I'd say right on the open / Asia open, they're pretty high volume, high volatility, high fuckery kind of time. Excuse my language. You'll get more of those manipulative plays during those moments, right? So at the moment, you're seeing signs that price wants to continue higher. You have an invalid model. This whole model is now toast. It's useless. This is not a valid distribution because we have way too many taps. You got 1, you got 2, you have 3. So even if it does come back, you would expect that, or you'd expect that, right? So you could use that to your advantage. I didn't take the long. Okay, I didn't take the long. I don't even know if there was one here. Let's see. Did it come back? I mean, I guess it did come back for the RIMC mitigation. It didn't quite hit where I wanted it to hit. I wish it had went a little lower here for me to take a long, but I'm going to cancel that replay. And, well, I guess it did. I guess we're kind of here now still. We're kind of still in the same spot, aren't we? Normally, I would have looked at here. So if it had a tagged in like that here, and I seen a nice reaction, I would have tried longing that up to this high, and I would have hit my target, obviously. But I wouldn't have taken that because it didn't quite hit this zone. I'm very picky with that on these kind of plays, especially a continuation range-based play. I want it to hit the zone that I like. I'm very picky. You got to be picky with these kind of plays because it's far more dangerous when you trade that way. So long story short, we're making our way down here. I I did talk about this short. I told you guys the moment that we see actual structure breaking, I'm taking a short trade, 2-minute plus structure. Okay, this was not 2-minute plus structure down here. Okay, that's not a break anyway. That's an SFP. We finally did get structure. Yes, it was internal market structure, but it was accompanied by a distribution model right here. And the second that we broke down right here, old Phoenix got in, put my stop there, and I targeted down to not the VWAP. And I know it looks that way, but I was targeting down here for my first TP. Now, that being said, yes, I'm still in that short trade. However, my stop is at break even, and I didn't take a single profit on that trade. It's only a 1.67 hour risk to reward ratio. That's not enough for me to take a profit. When I say first TP, I usually mean that's the place where I'm putting my stop to break even. Okay, you can trade any way you like to. I generally don't do the 1, 2, 3 TP game. I go all or nothing, unless it's a swing trade. If it's a swing trade, that's how I trade. You can do whatever you'd like to. It works very well for me, and I'm able to make very nice money the way that I'm doing it. So I'm going to keep things the way they are. It took me a long time to get to that point where I figured out that this was the better way. So unfortunately for me, it does look like we have a strong chance of taking my stop out. Am I going to let that take me out at break even or move my stop back up to here just in case it does that? To be honest, guys, I'd rather take a brand new trade and let that thing take me out. I've been in this trade all day long, like 6 hours. That's a long, long, long time for me to be in a trade that didn't net me 3%. Very long time. At this point, I'm just done with the trade. I don't even care about it anymore. It's taking way too long to accomplish a simple goal of 3%. So that being said, I know I sound crazy to some people, like, oh my gosh, 3%. And how long does it usually take you to make 3%? Well, usually like an hour, not 6 hours, or even less than an hour. But again, to each their own, obviously. Everybody has their own plan, their own risk appetite, et cetera, which is totally fine, and it will always be fine. Unfortunately for me, the way liquidity is curving down here, it does indeed look like we have a strong possibility at coming back up to 112,227. Now, according to ByBit, those are the levels, right? These numbers may fluctuate depending on your exchange. That does not matter, okay? It's the level that matters. This high right here is the one that matters. Now, that being said as well, we may have something directly above. It's not really, well, actually, it's not too bad on the 15. It's not terrible on the 15. Sorry, it's not amazing on the 15, but it's not terrible either. We do have supply above. Now, most people, what they would do is they would take that trade that I'm currently in, and they'd say, well, I didn't hit my TP yet. I think I'm going to, now that we have a chance at like doing this and then coming down again, I think I'm going to move my stop back above this high for the 1% risk again. I'm not doing that because I know, for example, on ETH, we have this big supply up here, and it could easily smash into it, which is going to bring Bitcoin up. And then I'm just going to be at 1% on a trade that I literally stuck in for 6 to 7 hours just for a loss. No, thank you. That's never going to happen. If I'm in the trade that long, it's never going to be a loss. So I'd rather, again, put a new alert right here. And if it gets tagged and we see a confirmation, we just take it as a brand new trade. And I just call the other one, I'll write it in the obituary column, I guess, So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to call it the dead trade if it comes up there, and we'll treat it like a brand new one. So why don't we double up here? I'm going to double up. You don't have to double up. I'm doing it for the stream purpose. I'm going to put an alert here. I'm going to put one up here as well. And I'm going to put one right here. I'm going to drag this guy up a bit, though. I'm going to put this guy at 117, right about 117, 118. I'm actually going to remove that line. That's kind of like lingering right here. It's kind of a useless line. So right off the hop, again, these ideas just come immediately to mind because they look like very simplistic ideas. This is not rocket science here. This is not rocket appliances. Anybody that watches Trailer Park Boys would know that one. Not rocket appliances. If we come up like that, we get a structure-based trade. Bob's my uncle, I'm taking the trade. If we come up to here and we're seeing a deviation, could this be a 1, 2, and a 3? I'm taking the trade. That's a short for me. If we come down to here and then we start holding ground here without quite taking out the current Asian low, I'm taking along on the VWAP reclaim, of course, only here on the reclaim of the VWAP. If we come down to this Asian low, I may consider a trade on a reclaim. I don't know yet. Okay, so I'm going to put one more alert here just for the heck of it, and then I'm going to look at Solana because I know with ETH, there's nothing that I'm interested in until this alert goes off or these ones go off. Solana, sorry, Bitcoin, I mean. That's it. Like, these are the only localized ideas. If we're getting a trade on a stream, it's going to be one of these ones. Let's be real. It's going to be one of these ones because the further away ideas are more unlikely, or sorry, less likely to actually progress while on the stream. It could happen after the stream, sure. And I will look at the more mid to higher time frame for you guys in a few minutes on Bitcoin. But why don't we do Solana first while we have some extra time? Why don't we do that? Turn everything off. Start fresh. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention this. This is the fair value gap that I think this was from yesterday, right? I believe. I was telling you guys, I'm like 90% sure. I could be totally mistaken, and I could have told this to my friend last night, but I even said this to him because he was like, "Dang, your fair value gap worked on Solana. Like, it worked incredibly well." I'm like 99.9% sure it was on the stream, and I told you guys to watch this for a sweep of this liquidity right here. I'm like 99% sure. If I'm wrong, again, smite me. Okay, my bad. I just don't know why I would have it drawn otherwise. I couldn't figure that out. So I'm like, again, fairly confident that that's the FVG that I was telling you guys about. So if anybody was paying attention, unfortunately, when you got the market structure shift, your entry would have been way, way, way up here. You still could have made like 1% if you timed the top. Otherwise, you were taking a reaction trade out of the fair value gap. But whatever, it's still cool to see that it worked out well, in my opinion. I think it looks pretty cool. It worked out very well, actually. For some reason, look at that. The alert didn't go off. It still didn't go off. Isn't that weird? So I'm going to wipe that now. Didn't mean to wipe the indicator. Should be like a way to not do that because it shouldn't be that simple to wipe the indicator. But anyway, I'll have to take that fight up with TradingView. Solana. What are you doing? Let's find out. Let's go to the daily and start down. We know we have major supply directly above us on Solana. And I told you guys, if there's going to be a swing short, if there's going to be like a massive swing short, it's either going to happen like here more than likely or in this red box as a whole. Otherwise, there's a really strong chance we're going to see a $300 plus Solana. Like an incredible strong chance. Very, very, very strong chance. So basically now's the time to be watching for those swing short trades to develop essentially because you might hit a home run very, very, very soon. So I'm looking at that. I am. I'm going to leave. Now, this demand is already mitigated, so I'm going to wipe that. That zone worked as well. We've been on a pretty good streak lately, actually, for zones. This is my new zone. It's kind of similar to the one that we had. It's more refined, however. And according to my refinement, we haven't quite hit it here. So could it be that even if we prematurely dump down and we're not quite seeing like a bullish hold in this area, this accumulative area, because you have 1, you have 2, you have 3. If we don't backtest this bullish accumulation and hold it for this, and we start going down and down and down, I don't think we're going to SFP this low. If we do, I think it's going to be like a temporary SFP like that, or like this. And I think what's going to happen is something like this. I do. I think that would be the more likely outcome. So, long story short, I would have an alert here anyway, and I'd have one right here. I'm going to move this guy up. Actually, I'll just draw a new one in right here. I'll put a new one right here as well. I got to stop drawing those like ridiculous little dashes to represent alerts on a stream, but I can't help myself sometimes. There's got to be a hotkey. Oh, there's a hotkey for it. Alt-A. I got to start using that more. Alt-A. I wish you could create it without having to press create. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to do it like this. Boom, boom, boom. No delay. No nonsense. No confirmation. Just give me my alert, you know? I just want it. Just want it the way it is. El natural. You know what I'm saying? El natural. So if we come up, I'm looking for a short trade with a confirmation on Solana while keeping in mind what Bitcoin and ETH is doing, of course. Although I'll be honest, Solana has been doing a lot of its own stuff lately. So it's up to you on what you want to do there, obviously. I would still suggest it because why would you not suggest to look at Bitcoin or ETH if you're looking at an altcoin? Of course you should. But I'm not saying, like, if I seen a damn good reaction here and it's like very bearish looking and the TA makes sense, but Bitcoin isn't quite breaking structure yet and ETH isn't quite breaking structure yet, I'm probably still going to scale in on this. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably still going to scale in. Maybe I don't go in like a full risk. I go half the risk to begin, essentially, right? It all depends on the situation and what structure actually looks like coming into or out of my zone of interest. So that being said, we do have an alert up here. We have one here and we have one here. Those are your primary locations for Solana at the moment on the mid time frame. Okay, it's more like a mid time frame. I would move this alert down to that high actually, or even a little bit before the high, and I would map out that high with a horizontal ray. 217.84. I would take a horizontal ray and I would also map out this low. I would also map out this low. So you can see the numbers very easily. So from a volume standpoint, I haven't checked any volume on Solana in like a very, very long time. So I'm going to do that very quickly. Ooh, look at that. Old Valerie and Pock hanging down inside my order block. Would you look at that? Look at those marbles, you know? That's kind of a bullish looking thing, isn't it? Makes you feel like you could see quite a reaction out of here if we come into this zone with a nice with some nice liquidity left. If there's liquidity left above, obviously. If there's not, and it's like smashing in, it's probably not going to give a good reaction, if any. But if we come down and we build liquidity on that move, there's a damn good chance you're going to see bang, bang. The old double bang effect. Not like that, like this. Hopefully it's not like that. Hopefully it's like this. So we have alerts. We know what they're for. We're going to keep it very simple because we don't have to keep it complicated. We'll keep things simple. El Natural. And we're gonna go down. We're gonna go down, down, down to the lower time frames. We don't need a single indicator. We'll turn them all off. Indicatorless trading here. Okay, we don't need them. Didn't mean to wipe that. Let's pull that one more time. Let's pull that one more time. But I'm gonna go from here to here, and I'm gonna double check that initial pull that I made. This one, and then I'm gonna add one more in. And then I'm going to ask ChatGPT what it suggests that I do with all this data. No, I'm kidding. Totally playing. I don't need that many fixed ranges. But what we can look at here is the fact that we have a bullish break of structure, don't we? I mean, this downward structure pull from this high down to here, up to here, down to here. It does indeed look like we broke up. Now, that being said, there was closure involved with the breakup, you know. We broke up, but I did give you guys closure. So, no, let's go to the 2 hour. We'll look at the 2 and the 4 again very quickly. What time frame structure was that? I believe it was 4. Yeah, lower low, lower high, lower low, and now a higher high. So we can actually pull ye old path tool, change the color to green. We can indicate that, hey, we have made a higher high, but that being said, you know, we also have more structure that was created in the process. Here, 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 and now here. So guess what? We have a little bit of market structure right here. Now you can draw it in. It's up to you. Do you want to draw all those points in? You can if it makes it look easier on the old noggin. I don't like a mess, so I'm not going to draw it in right now, but I can tell you guys with confidence that this is more like a 1 hour, 2 hour higher low. However, according to my 4 hour, it doesn't matter if we break that. We could still make a higher low for a higher high. That's a little tricky, isn't it? Especially when you're in, you know, at the end of a potential range. Like we have a range that developed with a swing high in an uptrend, a swing low in an uptrend. Price deviated the high with a distribution schematic. Price gravitated towards the value area low of the range. And now we're gravitating towards the value area high of the range. So we're filling in this range right now. When you're filling in a range, they're not called ranges for no reason, for starters. A range is a range because price goes this way, this way, this way, this way, that way, that way, this way, that, this, that, this, that, this. You know? A lot of this is and that's. Okay? A lot of this and a lot of that. So that being said, it's a little trickier because really either one could play out. I'm not gonna lie. Like either one could play out, right? Even though the 4 hours a higher time frame, it doesn't necessarily matter because you're in a range. Is what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily matter. So if I seen a break of structure here, we come down. Maybe I don't get into a trade up here for whatever reason, and then I wait for this to break, and I'm getting my actual break of structure, which is looking a little something like that. And I like what I see here. Maybe, I don't know, in the next 3-hour candles, price comes up a little bit further, and then it breaks structure on the 3-minute or the 2-minute. And I'm like, oh boy, that could be a short trade for a move all the way down to here. It could be. So I would take that. As long as it's not above VWAP here, I would take that trade, no problem. And I would try to de-risk it, obviously, very quickly. But that would be my main kind of trade, you know? However, I would also keep in mind that, hey, my 4-hour is telling me something different. It's telling me not to target this low. It's telling me we could see like a 50%-ish retrace and then a move up towards the high. So if I take my scale from this low to that high, a 50% retracement is roughly around here. I usually say between the 50 and the, I don't know, between the 40 and the 75% is a good range for retracement. Between the point, and I'm just roughing it out here, right? The 0.6 and the 0.4 is roughly where you would typically see some kind of a move here, like in this general box. I'm going to put it blue for the higher low. Roughly in that zone is typically where it would land. Now, obviously, if there's demand a little bit lower, well, then it may come into demand. If there's a fair value gap, it may come into the fair value gap. Generally, there's a reason why it makes a higher low in a certain place, which is your job to identify. At the moment, it's my job because I'm on the stream. So we have a fair value gap right here, I like. That lines up with that 50%-ish area. A 1 hour fair value gap. I do like that zone. And I'm not going to preset this one, but I'm thinking that that could be a trade right there on Solana. Okay, that's an idea right there. It's harder to preset or even draw something like this on ideas that aren't quite developed yet. Like this idea right here, you can't do that, okay? You can't, because how could you possibly know where this is going to, if it's even going to play out this way with this black doodle of mine? You don't know that. So there's no way to take the short tool or a long tool and actually put it in on the chart yet, because we're not even near that kind of a situation or scenario. So we can't. We just can't. You could on the high. You can be like, okay, well, I'm just going to pre-plan for something up here. Maybe we get this or that. You know, and then we come down to here. I don't know. It's just a good reminder that, hey, we're looking for a short up here. But I'll tell you something. There's no way I'd ever preset this, okay? Big no-no. But I'll leave it there because it is a valid idea. Push it over, though. We'll drag that son of a gun over here. Same with this one. Kind of in my way. We'll drag them over. I'm going to wipe some of this stuff. I'm going to glance at Bitcoin again very quickly. I don't think it did anything, though. Kind of waiting and watching and waiting. There is something I'm going to talk about on ETH, so don't let me forget it. We got 14 minutes, 15 minutes left before the guys start their stream, so we'll rotate back to ETH, but Solana got my attention right now because it's been doing some interesting scalp. It's been producing a lot of interesting scalp trades lately, and I want to take part. I want to partake. I want to partake in the interesting scalp trades. I like interesting price action, so can't help myself. I'm up for a challenge all the time. So that's an idea, obviously. We know, again, this could be an idea down here as well. We know that this could be an idea down here as well, right? These are all valid ideas. I'm not going to draw a long for each one, though, because, again, you don't. That's what alerts are here for, right? If you want to draw them all in, you be my guest, you do so. I just don't want to clutter my screen. Another thing that we could be looking at is, could we see a trade before we come up to these highs? Like, could there be a short in the immediate future? And there actually could be, because it's starting to round off here. If I turn all these indicators off, it's easier to see. And if I turn this path drawing off, it's a little bit easier as well. Let's hide this temporarily. Move this over here. And zoom in. But I'm going to go to the 15. I'm going to draw you guys a range. I'm going to tell you a little range tail. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. There's no tail to tell, but there's your range. Okay? The range master's range. They don't call me Range Master Flex or the Range Master for no reason, you know. Come on. Yeah, so we have a range, and it looks like there's really not much going on here at the moment. However, let me just look at this one more time. I mean, we technically did break structure, and we broke back up here. Right now, I mean, if we were to start flipping structure again, which is currently right here, and I'm using my very localized market structure for those wondering. I'm looking at this structure drawing higher high, higher low, higher high. So if we continue with that drawing, wherever it lands, let's say it comes all the way up to the range high, and then this happens. I'm willing to take a short on that, but again, I'm also keeping VWAP in mind, and I'm keeping BTC and ETH in mind. Because if they're mega pumping and they're in a zone that doesn't make sense to reject from, then what are the chances this is going to actually do this? It might come down a little bit and then shoot up again. So you don't want to get caught in this. You don't want to get caught in the trap, right? That's a trap right there. You don't want to be the guy or gal shorting into that trap. So I would, over the next couple of hours, if you're actually looking to trade, I would suggest watching this structure develop. And if you see failure on this 5-minute structure drawing, okay, I wouldn't use the 1 or the 2 or the 3. I wouldn't. I'm not going to. I'm using the 5 here. If we lose 5-minute structure, I'm going to say 3 and 5. Okay, it's kind of a mixture of both, really. So the 3 / the 5-minute structure, if we begin to lose that structure, whether it's like this, or whether it happens like this, then I'm looking for a back test, and I'm looking for a short down to this low right here, possibly lower. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. And I feel if we do take out this low, the chances are we're probably, if it's going to bounce immediately after taking this low and we produce an SFP kind of like this, we're probably going to come right into here. You got a little tiny 5-minute OBIM that was left behind. Stuck out like a sore thumb there. I could see it a mile away, even when we were zoomed out. That little OBIM right here could actually hold. You have inducement. You have more inducement. And you have demand being mitigated, but demand being left behind. So that's 100% a valid idea. Even if this is a distribution, that distribution can fail right there. So you're going to watch this area for sure between 207.88 and 206.88. It's not a big zone. It's not a big zone. Easy to watch. So we're definitely watching, or I'm definitely watching for something like that. Or even like maybe even all the way up to here. Who knows? Could be a nice trade. Who knows? Maybe I'm a little bit overshooting on that target, but whatever. Doesn't matter. You get the idea, right? It all depends on how things progress. And there may not be. Maybe we don't come back that low. I don't know. I have no idea. We're just going to leave it the alert here in case we do. I'm going to put one more alert right here. I'm going to put one up here in the range high because I want to know if it's going to hit this high because I'm looking for a short up here, kind of like with Bitcoin and ETH, similar idea. Okay, if we see a deviation, I'm taking the trade. If I see a deviation, I'm taking the trade down here. If I see that price is breaking structure in here or down in here, and I'm watching VWAP very closely, again, I'm taking the trade. Something that's a little bit more dangerous that you could try, and I say dangerous only because there are indicators that suggest, not when I say indicators, I'm not talking about this kind of an indicator, guys. I'm not talking about these ones here. I'm talking about actual indicators, the way I'm speaking. There are indicators of a potential distribution in the making. Despite this area not being a great area to distribute from, it doesn't matter. The markers are there. Okay, there are markers present that could suggest a distribution. So any long, especially up this high in the range, is definitely more dangerous. Okay, so that being said, if we come down and we do something like that, and VWAP is, I don't know, let's say VWAP is holding itself kind of like that, and we close above the VWAP and we're still going higher, I would actually try a long myself. I'm going to, but I'm going to de-risk it very quickly. So the moment we touch this high, I'm throwing the stop to break even right away, and I'm targeting right here and possibly higher. That's definitely a higher risk idea. I do take higher risk trades if the way that it's presented in live time makes sense to take the trade. If it's not presenting itself in a fashion that I like, well, then I'm not taking it. Simple. So that's another idea. I guess I'll just kind of like doodle that over here so we don't, when I'm doing a little recap, I don't forget that. So I'm going to go like that. That's a potential idea. This idea is only valid, by the way, if we don't take out this high. If we take out this high, I don't care about this idea. If we touch this high in any way, shape, or form, I don't care about that idea. I'm not touching it. Let's make that very clear. This has to happen like in the next, I don't know, hour, maybe less than that, maybe the next 20 minutes. So that is a valid idea. So what you could do is you could actually add one more alert, say, I don't know, right here, and just watch price as it comes down, if it comes back below that wick we just put in. So we pretty much have this one down pat as well. It's all simple ideas. These are very, very simplistic. They may sound complicated, but I trust my process, and you should as well. I mean, clearly it works very well. And we just have to wait for the confirms. If we get the confirms, we take the trade. If there's no confirms, well then, I don't know. Bob's not our uncle today, I guess. So that's pretty much it for Solana on the lower time frame. On the more higher time frame, again, I'm still into this idea right here. And I'm still into this idea right here, which we talked about, obviously, a few minutes ago for those that are forgetting. But that's pretty much it. I'm not going to talk about like way down here right now, or if we come down to here and 150, 180. I don't care about that. We'll talk about that when the time is appropriate to do so. It's not really appropriate to do so right now. Then I'll scramble everybody's brains. If I throw out too many ideas, I try to keep it minimal because I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, what did he just say? That's way too much to keep track of, right? I already feel like I kind of pushed my luck with that last little idea right here. So let's not talk about any more Solana ideas. That's a bad idea. I'll check the chat very quickly. That's a BLB. What does that do? I want to know what that is? I did mention that zone last night. Okay. Glad I wasn't going crazy. I had my suspicions. I didn't take it. My alert was still freaking an alert for some reason after all that time, like 24 hours later, which is crazy, by the way. But we seen the outcome when I was talking to my friend on a video call, and he was like, dang, bro, like that was a crazy reaction. I couldn't recall if I was talking about it like in hindsight or not. I was like, damn, did I just like draw that out without even like realizing it and tell you that was a good entry? It was a good laugh, but I couldn't figure it out. So thank you for clarifying that, Moon Girl. I appreciate that. Yeah, so it looks like we're slowly approaching my stop loss on Bitcoin, which doesn't surprise me. I kind of figured that was going to happen. I could have TP'd the rest out here, and if I was paying more attention, I would have. I would have closed that short, probably at least for 1%. Maybe I'd close 60% of it out right here. But to be honest with you guys, by the time it even broke up, like, look at the size of the candle. Like, I don't really care about a 0.3 hour win. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, by the time you pay fees and everything, it's not even really worth it for me to even bother. I may as well just let the thing take me out now. I don't care. Like, yeah, I might lose a tiny little bit in fees, but I don't care. Very picky. I don't want to walk away with a 0.3% win. I had better days than that. I don't want that to be me right now. So it'll curse me. It'll curse me. I'm too superstitious. If I take a 0.3% win, that'll be me for the next year. Nope, not doing it. I'd rather go 0. I'm totally kidding. Exaggerating. But yeah, this is a very likely target. Very, very, very likely target because of the liquidity curve, obviously. The old classic Phoenix curve right there. I'm watching for this, though, obviously. Little reiteration. We're watching for this. We're watching for an NYPM session high deviation. I didn't really talk, I guess, very, very, very quickly. I got 3 minutes left. I can talk about what happens if we just go higher. I didn't really have a chance to, I guess. So if we just go higher on Bitcoin, my next area, guys, if you don't remember, hopefully you do have this jotted down already. I gave this out, I think it was last night or the night before. I'm looking at a deviation of this high, the August 28th high. Okay? So basically a deviation of $113,446. So I'm looking at either this red box works or we're coming up more than, or this high deviates right here, which is not as likely, or we're coming up like this and deviating this high, or we're coming up into here and then rejecting, or we're just going a hell of a lot higher. There's only so many different ways that this can play out, and these are basically it. Either we reject in the next few minutes, we reject in the next couple of hours by taking out that NYPM high, we take out the August 28th high and reject immediately without quite hitting my gray box of supply. We hit the gray box of supply, which again is like 114,300-ish to 114,900-ish. Or we're just going a hell of a lot higher. Very, very, very simple. Like, there's only so many things that can happen here, because remember, right above this box, look at this. More liquidity, more liquidity, more liquidity, more right here, more right here. There's lots, actually. Big ol' inefficiency right here. I guess we could go and like mitigate a fair value gap like that and reject from that later on, but that's all the way up to like 119, 120. I'm not going to really draw that in yet. We're not really that close yet. If we get closer, we'll talk about that, but there's really no need at the moment, if you know what I mean, right? So that's kind of it. Like, I don't think it's a really hard plan. Like, everything I just mentioned is these are all the greater ideas. This idea right here that I was talking about at the beginning of the stream, I don't like it anymore, so I'm going to wipe that now. We can cancel that one possible long idea out. I was thinking, like when we were right here, I was thinking if we come down like ASAP and do something like this, where structure comes down like right now and does that, we could look for a long, but it didn't happen. We went higher instead. So as I was talking away, it just kept going higher and higher and higher. So there's no point. There's really no point in looking down there at the moment for me. But if that changes and I see something that I like after the stream, make sure you watch my channel, because I'll write it in here. I don't always tag everybody like this, White Phoenix tag. I try to remember to do that, but I don't like doing it on every single message, guys, because that's like spamming people. So I don't do that on every one. So you kind of have to keep checking it. If it looks unread, can we mark Thor's channel as unread? I'll just do this. Oh, it didn't work. I thought it would mark it as like unread. If it looks all white like this, it means it's unread and there was something. Sorry, something was unread from you in my channel, which means you've got to look. You must look. No, you must look, or shame on you, But that's basically my plan. I'm pretty sure most of you, if not all of you, can understand where I'm coming from with these ideas. They aren't complicated, guys and gals. They're not. These are very simplistic ideas, I feel. And actually, ETH might be coming into that zone that I was thinking about. Like, anywhere's really from like here to here. If we come down anywhere's in that zone, like, I don't know, between 44.60 and 44.44-ish. If we come down and we have actual structure like that working with us and we get a breakup like that, then screw closure. We're taking a trade. We're going along all the way, baby. Along all the way. No, I would be a little careful with it, though. I would watch for VWAP, right? Like, if VWAP was disregarding the trade, well, then I wouldn't touch it. But it is an area of interest, which is why we do have an alert right here. I'm not shorting anything yet, okay? I'd rather wait for a confirmed lower. Sorry, I'd rather wait for something that really confirms lower before I take another short trade. We'll see. We'll see what we get, right? If we come up, take me out of my stop loss, or take me out of break even, as I mentioned, something like this happens, I take another trade, great, I'm going to try that trade. But again, that's basically all I'm looking at are these ideas that I just listed for you guys. I'm not really biased as to which way this is going to go at the moment. Even though, yes, it does look like a distribution, I wouldn't get too convinced on that just yet, because it very well may not play out that way. We've seen them invalidated today. It could invalidate itself again. We've had a distribution invalidate itself into a supply zone today, into a great looking supply zone on Bitcoin. So who's to say it's not going to happen again? You got to really think about that one. So yeah, confirmations.